Hey guys, Debo here. It's been a little bit. I've been playing Ragnarok online for about the past, since January and the beginning of that. Going on the second month, going into our third in March. It's been quite the adventure. I wanted to do some updates and talk to you guys about this weekly, but, better late than never. There have been a lot of changes on the server and progressing things onward. The server does play a lot differently than other traditional Ragnarok games and how they release the server. As you guys know, they have a classic rendition of the server where a lot of the skills, actions, and everything behaved a lot differently back in the day compared to what we have now, which is currently we're playing through a renewal iteration version of the game, not to mention mixed in with one of the newest formats of the game is Ragnarok Zero. So a lot of people ask me like, hey Debo, what's the difference between, how classic Ragnarok used to be and what we're playing right now? They used to have the classic iterations, stat points behaved a lot differently, gear sets and stuff like that. The game was a lot more simplified and none of the creatures really went beyond level 99. With the renewal coming out, third classes have been made available and the level ceiling of 99 was expanded upon, and skills and gear and how certain skills interact were dramatically changed. For the most part, a lot of people didn't like this. A lot of people didn't like the third classes. A lot of people didn't like the renewal mechanics, but, people carried on and kept playing. So basically, with the servers that they had created, more specifically Restart, and then now we're on Ragnarok Transcendence, is that they wanted to start a brand new server for Ragnarok where it can give players a chance to come in, start a new Ragnarok character, and have the actual chance to compete against people or a server that's not already dominated with like lots of god items or people who've been playing the game forever who just, have tons of money and gear and equipments, and there's really no way to, compete with them. So with this server, it's going to have the renewal mechanics of what they currently have on the live servers with the mixture of some new stuff from the new game called Ragnarok Zero. Ragnarok Zero was basically dropped in Korea. It acts like the traditional RO, but with some changes, UI interface changes, updates to the quest system, updates to the armor and equipment and their forging system for that, and basically how certain skills and certain commands, behave. So the enemies and the maps and the certain items are pretty much the same as the classic Ragnarok, but the overall stats, levels, restrictions, what the items drop is completely different. Not to mention having the same stats as Renewal. The biggest draw in is that by the time people played Renewal and they switched all the stat points over, we never experienced a Ragnarok game that let us play the early character builds with the chain stat parameters and what have you not. So by the time Renewal came out, people were going from level 99, breaking past 99, going to like I do believe like a level 135 and 150 to start. So, for the most part, no one has ever experienced a server where you only have the first two sets of classes and, your level cap is 99 and, with the effects of how the skills are. So that's one intriguing point about it. On the side note, with the certain mechanics they mixed in from Ragnarok Zero, which is like, allowing for weapons to roll additional enchants, allowing for the dungeons that haven't been implemented yet called Fever Fields that allow your gear to have enchants and extra stats and stuff like that. That does definitely add another depth and level of gameplay to the game and will make things a lot interesting. So a lot of people, like I said, wondered why are people flocking to this new server. It's mostly to probably fill that old RO missing part. I want to play RO, but I don't want to necessarily play on a server that has all these god items and all these MVP cards. I want to play in a fresh server with the new mechanics, and then they'll slow roll it up to the current content, and maybe they might do some things differently. Currently, right now, the server is pretty stable, a good amount of player base, a healthy economy to a certain extent. Bots are on the server, but not to the magnitude if you played on a server called RO Restart. It's just significantly harder to bot and it's more expensive. And for the most part, I have to say they have been doing a pretty good job of clearing certain bots out in certain areas. I know the only bots that I have been noticing have been like, for lower level bots that farm SP items that sell for high amounts of money on the market board, like strawberries and honeys and what have you not. I'm not saying that the whole server is going to be protected forever from bots, but they definitely slowed the rate in which bots have ruined the server. So hopefully we won't have to worry about bots too much until maybe about a year into the game. Maybe if things get worse, maybe they stay on top of it. Who knows? So overall, the economy is doing pretty good. Very good for a new player to hop right in with little nothing, even if you choose not to use any of the Kaffir Shop stuff, and just get into the game, build a character, and level up quickly, because there's so many items available and a lot of different things we found out, and easy ways to get yourself into the game where any new player can get into the game, get situated, find a guild, and figure out what they want to do. So that is definitely one positive thing. So the economy is fine. Class balance, I don't think that's really going to pertain to anything until WoW comes out. I still think Knights are going to be the #1 DPS class, followed by Monks. I think it's going to be basically coming down to attrition. Whoever has the most amount of supplies and the most amount of Knights and some Monks here and there, and that basically can put up a good defense will probably end up running the server. And then also numbers are very important. So I really can't comment on WoW until it actually happens and see what effects it has on the server, so your guess is as good as mine. The enchants on the weapons have been a nice touch. The one weird thing that I have noticed is that at the beginning of the server, they actually, they had all these enchants on these certain weapons that drop. They were only rolling different stats on them, and once we figured out what stats were good, then accordingly certain prices for certain items would go up. So at the very beginning, you had certain items that can roll hit, they can roll attack, they can roll magic attack, they can have attack speed, and a lot of those items were worth a lot of money. And then a little bit time afterwards, they released a patch about a week and a half ago, in which now the secondary effects on the weapons, when you kill a monster and it drops a weapon, will have it. So now, not only does it have a chance to roll the primary stats, which could, like I said, be a primary stat like Dex, Strength, Agility, anything like that. It also could be hit, attack, magic attack, and then the secondary effect can be anything along the lines of 20% or 35% or whatever percent damage to a certain element, like a shadow creature, or a certain race, like demi-human, which basically made it so weapons can even be, even that much better. Like the other day, I ran across a nice Arbalist from Chivalry, 2 slots, had the 2 decks on it. It also, for the major stat, had Flee, and then the secondary stat was demi-human 25%. So it's like having a Hydra card plus a little bit more on a weapon, which is very nice. I must admit, I do like the weapon system they have now, because they buffed all weapon drops by 25% for every single weapon in the game, and all of them are going to come with enchants. Now with MVPs, I heard they can roll more than 1 enchant, but it has yet to be seen if they implemented that yet. But the one cool thing is, like for instance, I killed a Pharaoh yesterday, and I was actually able to acquire a Basil Rod that had plus 50 attack, and it still had the traditional plus 6 int or 5 int or whatever on the weapon. And it's a level 4 weapon, a very good, excellent weapon for a trap hunter or something like that. And then for the damage to the ratio was demon. So it was all right. Not the most perfect thing. I would have liked if it would have had demi-human on it, but beggars can't be choosers. So I love the way the weapons are, because to get the weapon you want with all the right stats, like let's say you wanted a WoW weapon. So you want demi-human for the racial, you might want some magic attack or attack on it, and you want it to roll good stats on a good weapon. When you try to over-upgrade them, they might break, and when a weapon breaks, that's good for the economy. It flushes some of the zenny out of the economy, and then also, it provides zenny for the person who sold the item. And overall, it gives a chance for people to keep, farming these weapons and getting a good value for them. They did put in a card removal NPC, which I don't really care for. So that kind of hurt the card market a little bit, because, if a person gets a Rager card, they can just simply remove it from some original type of... One second. So, like I'm saying, sorry about that. So, like originally, the way it works is that somebody can get a high quality card that's worth a lot of money, like an Earth Leader or a Rager card, and remove it and put it in future gear. So I hope they keep the weapons they have currently this way. they don't need to do anything weird to them or make it so you can reforge them to what stats you are. I think it always should be randomized to give a reason for people to go out there and hunt, because people are always going to be looking for top tier weapons and everything that it has. And that's pretty much it for the weapon system. So pretty much right now, things are starting to slowly inflate for Kaffir items. If you get out there and you farm and you do the math correct and you hunt in some good areas, you can make enough money to make a profit and keep yourself always with gum, which increases the drop chance of all your items, and you can do very well for yourself. My recommendations are Chivalry and believe it or not, Pasanas. Undershirts are going for about 200k plus per. And that 200k is almost enough to buy 2 packs of gum, which lasts you 30 minutes. So, like I said, man, as long as you're picking the right spot to farm and you're keeping yourself low cost, then you should have no problems rising through the ranks and making a little bit of money for yourself. Outside of all that, the only thing else we're waiting on is the future updates are supposed to come with certain skill changes. They're currently testing them in Korea. Ragnarok 0, so we don't know what is going to actually come over to us or what's going to happen. We have to wait and see what's going on. I do have a little bit of a tidbit of what's going on. I'll just go over just a couple. I'll go more in depth down the road if these changes actually hit us. And at any point, they can change what they don't like or keep what they do. And we don't know if this is going to be 100%, so take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt. The major one that I wanted to point out was Bowling Bash. Now, if you guys know Bowling Bash from the Restart server, they fixed it so it worked like the original Classic, but the problem with Bowling Bash and Renewal, it has an aftercast delay, and it prevents your attack speed from really affecting it, allowing you to spam out more Bowling Bashes, which basically makes it so you have to kind of rely on a strength fit dex kind of a build, because attack speed really doesn't help with the aftercast delay. So for the future changes for the skill rebalance for 0, the one thing I do like, it says it changes the skill mechanism. Skill deals 2 hits damage to enemies in a 5x5 cells and knocks them back. If the user equips 2-handed sword, number of hits increases to 4 hits depending on the number of targets. So that is really huge for Bowling Bash. Currently my Bowling Bash on Pharaoh with its burst shield and everything, I can Bowling Bash it for about 6 to 7k. So that means if I were using a 2-handed sword, that means, now that's 7k. Gets another 2 additional hits, which means I'll be dealing about 14k damage per Bowling Bash, which is really strong. The delay after skill, it is reduced, and it adds a 1-second cooldown. We would still have to test this out, but the reason why that's such a big thing is that even though if we test the new Bowling Bash that hits 4 times instead of 2, even if the attack speed doesn't affect the skill, it's still going to give us more damage. So that will be a nice little trade-off. You have to be using a 2-handed weapon in order to do that. But hey, you know what? I'll take it. Currently right now I'm using a 1-handed sword to do Bowling Bash because I can wear a shield too, but I definitely would equip a 2-handed sword if it means I can get twice the amount of damage, and that halves all my MVPing or killing the monsters and makes things a lot much easier. The 1-second cooldown, I don't know how that's going to really affect that, and reduces the delay after skill. So, like I said, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. One nice thing I noticed here is the Brandish Spear changes damage to become a long-range physical damage. Changes the damage, formula damage increase depends on the user's strength, which is fantastic. And all melee skills should be based upon how much strength you actually accumulate. It does now, but it's on a very linear curve. So it has the formula right there. Reduces the casting delay. Adds 0.5 seconds delay after skill, which is okay because when I saw the damage from Brandish Spear, it was actually seeing some of the Brandish Spears hit like 25k, which is incredible. And then they did increase the SP consumption, which I totally agree with, because if the Brandish Spear is going to be hitting for up to 20k worth of damage, it has to have some type of increase or effect on the SP. 2-handed Quicken for every single level is going to add +2 skill level. So basically for level 10 you'll have +20 hit. That's going to be fantastic. That allows us to drop some of the required hit we needed on weapons in order to hit certain enemies. And you guys may not be able to see it, but like this little gif right here is this knight just using Brandish. And he's in Niflheim. And that Brandish, if you can see, is 22k. So that really excites me that they're doing these changes, because it's going to really make the game, I think, a lot more fun and a lot more interesting. I think with Ragnarok Zero, they're not necessarily trying to go for third classes right away. They just want to focus on the first two classes and figure that out, get these skills into the game, and get into the player's hands so they can really start deciding on what kind of builds they want to do. I mean, you might see WoW completely change based on these skills. I mean, these are just for the night. The only thing I noticed because I play Crusader class is that the shield boomerang is a lot better. Like, I'm pretty hyped about the shield boomerang because the shield boomerang is going to do a lot more damage. I'm trying to see here. Shield boomerang change damage formula. This 80 times the skill effect level plus attack. So as you can see, I don't know if you see it, but this character is like throwing shield boomerangs out crazy, and it's doing like 7k per hit, which is really incredible. I don't know if you'll be able to elementally change it or basically get it in down and make it do more damage. But even if that's all it did, that's a step in the right direction. So the server looks pretty promising. The economy hasn't gone to shit. I still am always apprehensive of what goes on with Gravity because I don't want to say you can't trust them, but you never know what might happen. They can change something overnight that dramatically breaks the game or whatever. But we still have to wait on Fever Fields. We still have to wait on WoW. We still have to wait for these changes. After all that stuff happens, then we can kind of come back and reassess everything. The only thing we're looking forward to is WoW. That's going to begin on, I'm trying to think, March 6th. And also the Fever Fields should be beginning around that time as well too. So once we get through the Fever Fields, get through WoW, and get through the Abyssal Lake that's going to drop, then we can take a step back, see what's going on, and reassess everything. And then by that time, after everything's done, probably in April or May, they're going to start testing for all the new skill implementations, and we can see what needs to be balanced, what's overpowered, and then we can start making adjustments for what we're going to do. I would definitely be on the lookout for spears. If you find some good price spears at a good price, buy them up. I think they're going to skyrocket in all honesty because when they change those knight formulas to do that much damage for Brandish, like if a lot of those things stick through, you're going to see a lot of knights going Brandish and different things like that. So that's definitely to keep your idea on something of what's going on and things to look forward to. But I mean, that's pretty much about it, man. I've been enjoying the game. I've been grinding up my characters. I'm finishing up on my Sack Paladin or my Devotion Paladin. And I'm just trying to farm up and figure out a way where I can get some stabilized money. The money has been kind of rough because, like I said, you got to hope for a really good drop, and the drops haven't been happening like they once were, and money's been slowing down because not that many people are buying stuff. So we'll see, man. The only thing I tell you, if you're looking for good ways to make Cine, just find a place that has a good amount of loot overcharge, like Pasanas. That's a very good place. Or I heard like Sea Otters. And raw Zinni is pretty much king because no matter what, when people are not buying items, if you can overcharge the items that you get from your enemies, that's always guaranteed money. And that's, to me, is always the best money. So outside of that, I hope you guys have a good day. I'll throw up a video next week about what's going on in Ragnarok. Let you guys know how the server move went. We can't play today or tomorrow, so we'll have to wait and see. And all outside of that, man, hopefully the servers don't mess up. So if the servers don't work this week, it is what it is. But yeah, man. Hopefully they just the server move goes well and they keep on their certain timetable. And we got a lot of stuff to look forward to in the future. I got a Knight Guy coming out soon as well as a King Crusader 100% crit build. So make sure you guys keep a lookout for that. You guys can always follow me on twitch.tv/SPSDebo or on YouTube at DeboSC2. Hit the video with the thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and all that bull crap. I'm sorry to say that. I know every YouTuber says that, but what else is there to say, right? But outside of that, man, I hope you guys have a good Monday. I'll see you guys next week. And, of course, till next time, I'll check you guys later.